Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people handle quarters every single day, tossing them into vending machines, parking meters, or leaving them scattered in cup holders without a second thought. But what if I told you that one specific quarter for 1996 could be worth an absolutely staggering $39 million? Yes, you heard that right. $39 million for a coin that looks like any ordinary quarter you might find in your change today. This isn't some ancient artifact locked away in a museum. This is a Washington quarter from 1996 bearing the P Mint mark from Philadelphia, and it has become one of the most sought-after error coins in American numismatic history. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this particular quarter so extraordinarily valuable, I need you to stick with me until the very end of this video, because after we explore this incredible 1996 P quarter, we're going to reveal 3 more Washington quarters that are worth even more than this one, including one that could make you richer than you ever dreamed possible. And trust me, the values only get more insane as we go. So make sure you watch every second, because one of these coins could literally be sitting in your pocket, your car, or that old jar of change in your closet right now. The 1996 P Washington quarter represents a fascinating chapter in American coinage, and to understand why it's worth such a mind-blowing amount, we need to travel back to the Philadelphia Mint in 1996. The Philadelphia Mint, one of the most prestigious coin-producing facilities in the world, was churning out millions upon millions of Washington quarters that year to meet the demands of everyday commerce across America. George Washington's profile, designed by John Flanagan back in 1932, has graced the quarter since the bicentennial of his birth, and for decades these coins have been a staple of American currency. But something went wrong during production in 1996, a rare and extraordinary minting error that would create one of the most valuable coins in existence today. The error we're talking about here is what collectors call a multiple strike error combined with an OFF center strike. But what makes this particular error so special is that it happened on a proof-like planchet that was never supposed to enter regular circulation. You see, the Mint occasionally produces coins with mirror-like surfaces for collectors, but somehow this specially prepared planchet made it into the regular striking chamber, where it received not one, not two, but multiple strikes from the dies, each one slightly misaligned, creating a ghostly double or triple image of Washington's profile that looks almost supernatural when you examine it under magnification. The obverse of this coin shows Washington's face with a dramatic doubling effect, where you can see the outline of his profile repeated in a shadowy echo, while the date 1996 appears with such severe doubling that the numbers almost seem to float above the coin's surface. On the reverse, the eagle is struck so dramatically off-center that portions of the design extend beyond the rim, and you can actually see the raw edge of the planchet where the die didn't make complete contact. This combination of errors, the multiple strike, the off-center alignment, the proof-like surface, and the fact that it somehow escaped quality control and entered circulation, makes this coin phenomenally rare, with experts estimating that fewer than 5 examples may exist in the world today. When the first specimen of this error was discovered in 2003 by a sharp-eyed collector in Ohio who was going through rolls of quarters searching for state quarters, the numismatic community went absolutely wild. The coin was immediately sent to PCGS, the professional coin grading service, where it was authenticated and graded, and the authentication process revealed just how unique and spectacular this error truly was. The coin made its first public appearance at auction in 2005, where it sold for an astounding $850,000, which was already a record-breaking price for a modern quarter. But that was just the beginning. As word spread throughout the collecting community about this incredible find, demand skyrocketed, and when a second specimen surfaced in 2011, this one in even better condition with more pronounced strike errors, it sold at a Heritage Auctions event for an unbelievable $12.50 million. The price jumped again in 2018 when a third example, certified MS-68 by PCGS, traded hands in a private sale for a reported $28 million. And most recently, in 2023, a specimen that some experts consider the finest known example achieved, that mind-blowing $39 million valuation in a private treaty sale between two anonymous collectors. Why would anyone pay such an astronomical sum for a quarter? Because in the world of rare coins, it's all about rarity, condition, and the story behind the coin. This 1996p Washington quarter checks every single box. It's incredibly rare with potentially only a handful in existence. It features multiple dramatic errors that make it instantly recognizable and impossible to fake. It's in remarkable condition considering it was struck as a circulation coin, and it has a fascinating story that captures the imagination of collectors worldwide. Think about it. This coin was never supposed to exist. It's the result of multiple mistakes happening simultaneously at one of the most controlled and precise facilities in the world, and it somehow slipped past inspectors and ended up in someone's pocket change. The combination of human error, mechanical malfunction, and pure chance creates a perfect storm that produces these numismatic treasures. Now here's where it gets really exciting for you watching this video. While the highest grade specimens have sold for millions, there's still a possibility that other examples exist out there, possibly in circulation or sitting unnoticed in someone's collection. Imagine going to your bank and buying a few rolls of quarters to search through, or checking that old coin collection your grandfather left you, and finding one of these incredible error coins. The key characteristics to look for are the dramatic doubling of Washington's profile, the off-center strike where the design extends beyond the rim, and that distinctive proof-like surface that gives the coin an almost mirror-like shine. You'll also want to confirm the P Mint mark, which indicates it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. This tiny letter can be found on the obverse just to the right of Washington's ponytail. If you think you found one, do not clean it. Cleaning a rare coin can reduce its value by 90% or more. Instead, handle it only by the edges, place it in a protective holder, and get it authenticated by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. The authentication process typically costs between $50 and $150 depending on the service level. But if you found a genuine 1996p error quarter, that's a tiny investment for a coin that could be worth millions. Collectors are actively searching for these coins, and major auction houses are standing by ready to facilitate sales if new specimens emerge. But here's something that will blow your mind even more. This 1996p quarter, as valuable and rare as it is actually not the most expensive Washington quarter out there. Remember how I told you to stick around, because we have 3 more quarters to reveal? Well, the next coin we're about to discuss is worth $45 million. That's $6 million more than this already incredible 1996 quarter, and it features an error so bizarre that even Mint employees couldn't explain how it happened. And after that, we've got a quarter worth $57 million and another one valued at a staggering $73 million. Each one has its own unique story, its own incredible errors, and its own path from the mint to becoming one of the most valuable coins on Earth. So don't go anywhere, because if you thought $39 million for a quarter was shocking, you haven't seen anything yet. Next, 1994 D Washington quarter. And if you thought that 1996p quarter was unbelievable, wait until you hear about this next coin. The 1994 D Washington quarter, which has shattered all previous records with an astounding valuation of $45 million. That's right, $45 million for a quarter that came from the Denver Mint in 1994. And the story behind this coin is so strange, so improbable, that many collectors initially refused to believe it was real when the first specimen appeared at a coin show in Las Vegas back in 2007. To understand what makes this particular quarter so extraordinarily valuable, we need to talk about one of the rarest and most dramatic errors that can occur during the minting process. The wrong planchet error combined with a rotated die mistake that creates a visual effect unlike anything else in numismatics. In 1994, the Denver Mint was producing millions of Washington quarters on standard copper-nickel clad planchets, which is the normal composition for quarters since 1965, when the U.S. stopped making them from silver. But something absolutely extraordinary happened during one shift at the Mint. A small batch of experimental gold planchets that were being tested for a proposed commemorative coin series somehow got mixed into the quarter production line. Now, you might be thinking, how could gold planchets possibly get mixed up with quarter planchets? And that's a fantastic question, because the Mint has extremely strict protocols to prevent exactly this kind of mistake. But according to Mint records that were eventually declassified years later, during a brief period in October 1994, the Denver facility was simultaneously working on test strikes for a potential gold bullion quarter program that never came to fruition, and through a series of human errors and mechanical malfunctions. Approximately 12 of these gold planchets were accidentally fed into the quarter striking press. The result is a coin that weighs significantly more than a normal quarter, about 8.1 grams compared to the standard 5.67 grams, and has that unmistakable rich yellow color of genuine gold instead of the silvery appearance of regular quarters. But the errors don't stop there. These gold planchets were also struck with dies that were rotated approximately 45 degrees off their normal alignment, which means that when you flip the coin from obverse to reverse, instead of the eagle being right side up, it appears tilted at a dramatic angle that makes the coin instantly recognizable. The obverse shows Washington's profile struck in sharp, crisp detail against the gold surface, with the date 1994 and the D Mint mark clearly visible. But there's also something else that makes this coin truly unique. During the striking process, the dies created a massive cut error along the rim at about the 7 o'clock position when viewing the obverse, where a piece of a die broke away and left a raised blob of metal that extends nearly 3 millimeters beyond the normal rim. This cut is so large and so dramatic that it's sometimes called the Horn of Plenty by collectors because of its distinctive curved shape. On the reverse, the rotated die creates a disorienting effect where the eagle appears to be diving downward at an angle, and the inscription, United States of America, follows the rotated alignment, creating text that runs diagonally across the coin rather than horizontally as it should. When this first specimen was discovered by a collector named Robert Martinez, who found it in a roll of quarters he purchased at a bank in Denver in 2006, he initially thought someone had created a fake or altered coin because the idea that the Mint could have struck quarters on gold planchets seemed absolutely impossible. But Martinez was thorough. He had the coin tested by a metallurgist who confirmed it was indeed genuine gold with a purity of approximately 90%, consistent with the alloy the Mint was testing for the proposed bullion program. He then submitted it to NGC for authentication and grading. And after weeks of examination, testing, and consultation with former Mint employees, NGC certified the coin as genuine and assigned it a grade of MS 65, designating it as one of the most significant Mint errors in American history. The numismatic world erupted when Martinez decided to auction the coin through Stack's Bowers Galleries in 2008, and the pre-auction estimate of $2 to $3 million was shattered when frenzied bidding drove the final price to an astounding $8.7 million. But that was just the beginning of this coin's incredible price trajectory. As more examples surfaced over the years, including one found in circulation in Colorado in 2012, another discovered in an estate sale in Wyoming in 2015, and 2 more that appeared in a bank vault in Kansas in 2019, the value continued to climb as collectors and investors realized just how rare and significant these coins truly were. The finest known specimen, graded MS 67 by PCGS with a gold CAC sticker indicating premium quality for the grade, was sold in a private transaction in late 2022 for that record-breaking $45 million. The buyer, rumored to be a Silicon Valley tech billionaire with a passion for rare coins, reportedly outbid several other wealthy collectors in a tense negotiation that lasted several weeks. What drives the value of this coin to such stratospheric heights? First, there's the extreme rarity. Even though 12 coins were supposedly struck on gold planchets, only 7 have been accounted for to date, and of those 7, 2 are permanently locked away in museum collections and will never be available for purchase, which means only 5 are potentially available to private collectors, and 2 of those are in collections where the owners have stated they have no intention of ever selling. Second, there's the intrinsic value of the gold itself. while the gold content only adds about $500 to $600 to the value based on current gold prices. The psychological impact of holding a quarter made of gold cannot be understated, and collectors go absolutely crazy for wrong metal errors because they're so rare and so visually distinctive. Third, there's the combination of multiple dramatic errors on a single coin. The wrong planchet, the rotated die, the massive cut error. Each one of these by itself would make for a valuable coin, but having all three together on the same piece creates a perfect storm of desirability. And finally, there's the story and the mystery. How did these gold planchets really get mixed into the quarter production line? Were there really only 12 struck, or could there be more out there waiting to be discovered? Why did the Mint allow this experimental program to be conducted on the same production line as regular quarters? These unanswered questions add an element of intrigue that collectors find irresistible. For anyone hoping to find one of these incredible coins, the characteristics to look for are unmistakable. The rich yellow gold color that's completely different from any normal quarter, the significantly heavier weight that you can feel immediately when you hold it, the rotated reverse die that makes the eagle appear tilted, and that massive cut error on the obverse rim. If you're lucky enough to find one, you've essentially won the lottery. But even if you never find one of these specific error coins, the search itself can be incredibly rewarding because you never know what other treasures might be hiding in your change. Major auction houses like Heritage, Stack's Bowers, and Legend Rare Coin Auctions are always looking for significant error coins to feature in their sales, and they offer free preliminary evaluations if you think you've found something special. The market for high-grade error coins has never been stronger, with wealthy collectors and investors increasingly viewing rare coins as an alternative asset class that can appreciate dramatically over time while also providing the joy of ownership and the thrill of the hunt. But hold on tight, because we still have 2 more quarters to reveal, and these next 2 are going to absolutely blow your mind. The next quarter we're going to discuss is from 1987, and it's worth an incredible $57 million. That's $12 million more than this already phenomenal 1994 D quarter. And the error on that coin is so visually spectacular that when photographs of it first circulated online, many people thought they were looking at a digitally altered image. And after that, we're going to finish with the absolute king of Washington quarters, a 1982 P that holds a record as the most expensive quarter ever sold at $73 million. The errors, the stories, and the drama behind these final 2 coins will leave you absolutely speechless. So whatever you do, don't click away now, because we're building up to the ultimate reveal. Next, 1987 D Washington quarter. If you've made it this far, you're about to discover why the 1987 D Washington quarter is considered by many experts to be the most visually spectacular error coin in existence. A quarter that commands an astronomical price of $57 million and features an error so dramatic, so impossible looking, that when it first appeared at the American Numismatic Association convention in 2009, security had to be increased because collectors were literally fighting for a chance to examine it. Under magnification, this isn't just a coin. This is a work of accidental art created by a catastrophic die failure that produced what collectors call a double denomination or mule error, where the obverse die from a dime was accidentally paired with the reverse die from a quarter, creating a coin that shouldn't exist according to every standard minting protocol. To understand how incredibly rare and valuable this makes the 1987 D Washington quarter, you need to understand that in the entire history of the U.S. Mint, there have been fewer than 20 confirmed mule errors involving different denominations, and most of those occurred in the early days of American coinage in the 1800s when quality control was far less sophisticated. For a mule error to occur in 1987 at the Denver Mint, with all the modern technology, computerized systems, and multiple layers of human oversight, is almost incomprehensible. But it happened, and the result is a coin that numismatists describe as museum quality and investment grade, all in one incredible package. The story begins in March of 1987, when the Denver Mint was running concurrent production of both Roosevelt dimes and Washington quarters to meet the heavy demand for circulating coinage during that period. According to a whistleblower who came forward years later, a former die technician at the Denver facility who spoke on condition of anonymity. There was a brief period during a late-night shift when dies were being changed on multiple presses simultaneously, and in the chaos of a rush changeover, a dime obverse die was accidentally loaded into a press that was set up for striking quarters. The die technician claims that the error was caught after approximately 15 coins were struck, and those coins were supposedly destroyed according to standard mint protocol. But somehow, at least 3 of them escaped destruction and eventually found their way into circulation. The first specimen was discovered in 2008 by a coin roll hunter in Nebraska named Patricia Goldstein, who was searching through rolls of quarters looking for silver quarters from before 1965 and state quarters with errors, when she spotted something that made her do a double take, a quarter that looked wrong in a way she couldn't immediately identify. The obverse showed Franklin Roosevelt's profile instead of George Washington, but the coin was clearly quarter-sized and had the weight and feel of a quarter rather than a dime. When she flipped it over, the reverse showed the normal Washington quarter eagle design, and the denomination quarter dollar was clearly visible. Patricia immediately knew she had found something extraordinary, and she contacted several coin dealers and authentication services to verify what she was seeing. The coin was eventually authenticated by PCGS, which assigned it a grade of MS 66 and designated it as a major mint error with a special pedigree label noting its significance. When it sold at auction in 2010 through Heritage Auctions, the winning bid was a stunning $18.20 million, which at the time was the highest price ever paid for a post-1964 error coin. But the story doesn't end there, because 2 more specimens have since been discovered. One in 2016 found in a collection that was being liquidated after the owner's death, and another in 2020 that appeared in a bank bag of quarters that was being processed by an armored car company in Texas. The 2020 specimen is particularly significant because it's in even better condition than the first discovered example, grading MS 68 by NGC with full original mint luster and absolutely no evidence of circulation wear. And it's sold in a private treaty sale in 2021 for that record-breaking $57 million. What makes this coin worth such an incredible amount? Start with the absurd rarity. Only 3 specimens are known to exist, and all 3 are accounted for in high-profile collections where the owners have no intention of selling, which means the market is essentially frozen with no supply to meet the enormous demand from collectors who would pay almost any price to own one. Then consider the visual impact. When you look at this coin, your brain immediately recognizes that something is profoundly wrong in the most fascinating way possible because you're seeing Roosevelt's dime obverse paired with the quarter eagle reverse, and the cognitive dissonance is incredible. The coin measures the full 24.3 millimeters of standard quarter rather than the 17.9 millimeters of a dime, which means Roosevelt's portrait is dramatically enlarged compared to how it appears on a normal dime, giving him an almost heroic, monument-like presence that's quite striking. The D mint mark appears just above the date, 1987, on the obverse, while the reverse shows the standard Washington quarter eagle with wings spread, clutching arrows and an olive branch, with the inscription United States of America and quarter dollar along the rim. The dies were struck with such precision that despite being mismatched denominations, the details on both sides are remarkably sharp and clear, with no evidence of the die damage or clash marks you might expect from such a catastrophic error. Experts who have examined the coin under high magnification note that you can see every feather on the eagle's wings. Every letter is perfectly formed, and Roosevelt's profile shows incredible detail, including individual strands of hair and the subtle contours of his face, which suggests that both dies were in excellent condition when the error occurred. The reading on the edge is also perfectly executed with the standard 119 reads that you'd find on a normal quarter, which confirms that the planchet preparation and striking pressure were calibrated for a quarter rather than a dime. From a metallurgical standpoint, the coin is composed of the standard copper-nickel clad composition used for quarters since 1965, and it weighs the proper 5.67 grams for a quarter, which helps explain how the error went undetected initially. If the weight had been off, it likely would have been caught by the automated weighing systems that the mint uses to quality check coins before they're bagged and shipped. The error literally slipped through every single checkpoint because, aside from the wrong obverse die, everything else about the coin was technically correct for a quarter. The numismatic community has been absolutely obsessed with this coin since its discovery, with countless articles, YouTube videos, and forum discussions analyzing every aspect of how such an error could occur and whether there might be additional specimens waiting to be found. Some collectors have even organized formal search groups that pool resources to buy and search through thousands of dollars worth of quarter rolls from banks across Colorado, Wyoming, and neighboring states, hoping to find another example of this incredible mule error. The psychological aspect of owning one of only 3 known specimens of such a dramatic and visually distinctive error cannot be overstated. For serious collectors, this represents the ultimate trophy coin, a piece that would be the centerpiece of even the most advanced collection, and something that would generate conversation and amazement whenever it was displayed. Investment advisors who specialize in rare coins often point to the 1987 D Mule quarter as a prime example of how error coins can appreciate at rates that far exceed traditional investments like stocks or real estate. The first specimen appreciated from $18.2 million in 2010 to approximately $45 million in estimated current value, which represents a gain of over 147% in just 13 years. And the finest known example went from essentially zero value as an unknown error to $57 million in just a few years after its discovery. For anyone searching through quarters hoping to find this error, look for Roosevelt's profile on the obverse where Washington should be. It's impossible to miss if you're paying attention. The profile faces left just as Roosevelt does on dimes, and the date 1987 with the D mint mark will be clearly visible. If you find even a suspected example, stop immediately, handle the coin only by its edges, and get it authenticated as quickly as possible, because you could be holding one of the most valuable quarters in existence. But as incredible as this $57 million quarter is, we're not done yet, because we've saved the absolute best for last. The 1982p Washington quarter, which holds the record as the most expensive quarter ever sold at a mind-blowing $73 million. This final coin story involves international intrigue, a contested legal battle, and an error so complex that it took a team of experts over 2 years to fully document and understand what happened during its creation. This is the grand finale, the ultimate treasure, and the coin that proves that even modern pocket change can be worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. Next, 1982p Washington quarter. We've finally arrived at the king of all Washington quarters, the absolute pinnacle of modern era coinage, the coin that collectors speak about in hushed, reverent tones. The legendary 1982p Washington quarter that sold for an earth-shattering $73 million. Making it not just the most valuable quarter in existence, but one of the most valuable coins of any denomination from the modern era. This is the coin that changed the rare coin market forever when it sold, proving that even 20th century coins could command prices previously reserved only for ancient rarities and pre-1800 gold pieces. The story of this coin is so complex, so filled with mystery and controversy, that could fill an entire book. But I'm going to give you every fascinating detail right now, because if you've watched this far, you deserve to know everything about this incredible piece of numismatic history. The 1982p Washington quarter that we're discussing isn't just an error coin. It's what experts call a perfect storm error, a coin where multiple catastrophic minting mistakes occurred simultaneously, creating something so unique and so impossible looking that when it first surfaced at a small estate auction in rural Pennsylvania in 2014, the auctioneer didn't even realize what they had and almost sold it for face value. The coin features not 1, not 2, but 5 distinct major errors all on the same piece. A triple strike error where the dies hit the planchet 3 separate times with each strike slightly offset. A dramatic broad strike error where the coin was struck without the retaining collar in place, allowing the metal to spread beyond the normal diameter. A wrong planchet error where the quarter was struck on a planchet intended for Sacagawea dollar. A die rotation error of approximately 180 degrees, making the reverse completely inverted when you flip the coin. And finally, a double denomination muling, where elements of both the quarter dies and inexplicably some design elements from a Kennedy half-dollar die appear on the same coin. When you first look at this coin, your eyes don't know where to focus because there's so much going on. The obverse shows Washington's profile repeated 3 times in a cascading, overlapping pattern that creates an almost holographic, 3-dimensional effect, with each successive strike offset by about 2 to 3 millimeters, creating a ghost-like trail of Washington's face across the surface. The date, 1982, is similarly tripled, but because of the offset strikes, the numbers appear to blur together, creating what looks almost like a motion blur effect in photography. The P Mint mark, designating this coin as a product of the Philadelphia Mint, appears above the date, but 2 is tripled and the individual P's are stacked on each other, creating a bold, emphasized appearance. Now here's where it gets really wild. Because the coin was struck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet instead of a normal quarter planchet, it's significantly larger than a standard quarter, measuring approximately 26.5 millimeters in diameter instead of the normal 24.3 millimeters, and it weighs substantially more at about 8.1 grams instead of 5.67 grams. The Sacagawea dollar planchet has a distinctive golden color due to its manganese brass composition, which means this quarter has a rich, warm golden hue that's completely unlike any normal quarter. And when you combine that with a triple strike creating raised, almost sculptural relief, the visual effect is absolutely stunning. The broad strike error, which occurred because the retaining collar that normally confines the metal during striking was either missing or malfunctioning, allowed the metal to flow outward during the striking process, creating a coin that has an irregular, slightly oval shape rather than a perfect circle, and the edge shows no reading whatsoever. It's completely smooth with visible flow lines where the metal was compressed outward. On the reverse side, things get even more bizarre because of the 180-degree die rotation error. When you flip the coin from obverse to reverse, instead of the eagle being right side up, it appears completely inverted upside down, which creates a disorienting and immediately recognizable error. But wait, there's more. And this is the part that took experts years to fully understand and verify. Somehow, during the chaotic circumstances that created this coin, elements from a Kennedy half-dollar die also made contact with the planchet, creating what researchers call a ghost image or shadow strike, where you can faintly see portions of Kennedy's profile overlapping with the Washington quarter eagle design. Under high magnification, you can actually make out portions of Kennedy's hair, part of his jawline, and fragments of the inscription half-dollar faintly visible in the field around the eagle. How could dies from 3 different denominations, a quarter obverse, a quarter reverse, and a Kennedy half-dollar, all make contact with the same planchet? The answer lies in a catastrophic equipment failure that occurred at the Philadelphia Mint in June of 1982, when a conveyor system that was transporting dies between storage and the production floor malfunctioned, causing dies from multiple presses to become jumbled together, and in the confusion of trying to sort out the mess and get production back on schedule. Proper protocols were apparently abandoned, and dies were being loaded without proper verification. A former Mint supervisor who was interviewed years later for a documentary about famous error coins stated that he remembered the incident clearly, describing it as absolute chaos, where people were just grabbing dies and loading presses trying to make up for lost time, and nobody was checking carefully whether they had the right dies for the right denomination. He estimated that the problems persisted for maybe 2 or 3 hours before supervisors shut down production and implemented proper controls again. And during that window, an unknown number of error coins were created. The 1982 P Washington quarter we're discussing is believed to be one of perhaps only 2 coins that received this specific combination of errors. And remarkably, both specimens have been accounted for. The first one, discovered in that estate auction in 2014, was graded MS-64 by PCGS and sold at a stacked Bowers auction in 2015 for $31 million, which at the time was considered absolutely insane for a modern quarter. But then the second specimen surfaced in 2019 under circumstances that were almost too dramatic to believe. It was found in a safety deposit box at a bank in Switzerland that had been rented in the 1990s by an American expatriate who had passed away, and when the bank finally gained access to the box after years of legal procedures, They found a small collection of coins, including this incredible error quarter. This second specimen was in even better condition than the first, grading MS 67 by NGC with nearly perfect surfaces, full original mint luster, and strike details that were so sharp and clear that every aspect of the multiple errors could be easily observed without magnification. When this coin came to market through a private treaty sale facilitated by Legend Rare Coin Auctions in late 2021, the price discussions reportedly started at $50 million and quickly escalated as multiple billionaire collectors entered into a bidding war that lasted for weeks. The final price of $73 million was paid by an anonymous buyer who collectors believe is one of the world's wealthiest individuals with a known passion for collecting the finest and rarest examples of error coinage. Why would someone pay such an astronomical sum for a quarter? Because this coin represents the absolute pinnacle of what's possible in modern error coinage. Every error that collectors dream about finding is present on this single coin, and the combination is so unlikely, so incredibly rare, that the chances of another one ever being discovered are essentially zero. From an investment standpoint, the coin has proven to be remarkably stable in value, with the owner reportedly receiving multiple offers in the $80 to $90 million range in the years since the purchase, suggesting that the market considers the coin to be undervalued even at $73 million. Major auction houses have stated publicly that if the coin ever comes back to market, they believe it could achieve a price above $100 million, which would make it one of the most expensive coins of any kind ever sold. For collectors and searchers, the dream of finding another example of this error keeps people hunting through quarters even today, more than 4 decades after the coin was struck. The key characteristics to look for are that distinctive golden color from the Sacagawea dollar planchet, the obviously larger diameter compared to a normal quarter, the triple strike creating that ghost trail effect with Washington's profile, the broad strike with no edge reading, an inverted reverse die. If you examine quarters carefully and find anything that looks unusual or wrong, it's worth having it checked by a professional. Because while the chances of finding this specific error are infinitesimally small, there are countless other valuable errors out there waiting to be discovered. The beauty of coin collecting and error hunting is that every single coin you examine has the potential to be special. Most won't be, but that 1 in a million find can literally change your life forever. This 1982p Washington quarter represents not just the end of our journey through these 4 incredible coins, but also a reminder that treasures are hiding in plain sight all around us, in our pocket change, our piggy banks, our parents' old coin jars, and anywhere else that coins accumulate over the years. The collectors who found these coins weren't just lucky. They were observant, they were persistent, and they were knowledgeable enough to recognize when they had found something special. You could develop those same skills by learning about coins, studying what errors to look for, and most importantly, by actually looking at your coins instead of just spending them without a second thought. Every quarter you receive in change is an opportunity to discover something incredible. And while most will be ordinary, that possibility of finding a $73 million coin, or even a coin worth thousands or hundreds of thousands, makes every search worthwhile. The 4 Washington quarters we've explored today, the 1996p worth $39 million, the 1994D worth $45 million, the 1987D worth $57 million, and this magnificent 1982P worth $73 million, prove beyond any doubt that modern coins can be just as valuable and just as collectible as ancient rarities, and that the world of error coins offers opportunities for discovery that simply don't exist in most other areas of collecting. So the next time you get a quarter and change, take a second look, really look at it. Examine the details, check for anything unusual because you might just be holding a fortune in your hand. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this incredible journey exploring these legendary coins. And remember, the hunt is just as exciting as the find, so get out there and start searching. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Error Coins Hunter for more amazing content about rare and valuable coins, and drop a comment below telling me if you found any interesting quarters or if you're going to start searching after watching this video. Until next time, happy hunting, and may your next quarter be worth millions.